Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Colin Weston, the host of ModGolf Live and the ModGolf podcast. I'm glad you've taken the time to join us this morning. If it's still morning time, like for me, having a cup of coffee here, I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada on the West Coast, so it's 9 a.m., so I still need some caffeine to get me going. If you are anywhere else in the country or even around the world, I know we got a lot of people joining us, including our guest today from back east. So it's noontime, lunchtime there. A lot of friends in Europe that are going to be joining us too, and all around the world. So wherever you are, welcome, and thanks for spending some time with us here on Monday to get our week going. And this is going to be a great conversation to get you going on mindfulness, not only in golf, but also in business and in life. And my guest today is Dr. Eric Boyd. And him and his wife are doing some fantastic things in the leadership space that dovetails in all the great things that he has learned and loves about golf and applies that to leadership. And we're going to get into that also with his book that him and his wife Anna have also written and released within the year. So before we get into that, I'm going to do what I normally do here on Mondays here. Although, hey, the first thing I'm going to do is I already see we got some people that have joined us live here. We really want to make this a live and interactive show. So please, please, please participate, ask your questions. Don't be shy. It's like, hey, you've got some questions here. Why don't you ask? Like I've already put it in comments here. They said, hey, welcome to the podcast with ModGolf Live here. Introduce yourself and let us know where you're watching from today. As I mentioned here, that I am joining you from the West Coast here in Vancouver. And yeah, so just put your questions in once we get rolling here for Dr. Eric Boyd. Anything that you want to ask about leadership, life, hey, I don't know, as existential as you want to get. Maybe we're going to get super philosophical and deep here. I don't know if he wants to answer all your burning questions about the meaning of life. Maybe he will. I'll leave that to him. We'll see how deep we go here today. But we're going to do that and frame that around golf. And the other piece I'm going to do here with as we start here, something I normally do here, and that is my Monday morning musings. What's gone on in the last week, whether it's in golf or whether it's in life here. But what I really want to start here is talking about the podcast a little bit, and really excited that we're really ramping up here for our season 16. We're closing in on over 200 episodes, and some interesting things have kind of happened for me, not only in the speaking space, but also now that we have, like I said, 200 episodes. I've had 200 fantastic conversations with people now that I haven't known before over the last 7 or 8 years, that a lot of them I consider good friends now. And out of that, I've had someone reach out to me for the last year or so, and I've resisted a little bit of saying, why don't you put a book together? Really consolidating down those 200 stories, the best ones from there, and put that out there as far as lessons learned in the innovation and entrepreneurship side of golf and how you apply that to life. So this ties in very nicely with what Eric is doing, like I said, with his wife, Anna, with the book here that we're going to be talking about, of FairWays for Leadership. But the one thing I'm going to talk about here is also our latest podcast episode. So this one with Jay Karen that we've had, who is the CEO of the National Golf Course Association, Owners Association. Been friends with Jay for many years. So this was an awesome conversation we had just as far as the future of golf courses, golf course management and ownership, how sustainability and the environment and how that all ties into that, and technology. So, hey, if you haven't listened to that podcast yet, I'll include that down below in the notes here, so you can afterwards go back to listen to that one here. So let's get rolling here. So the introduction I'm going to make here, like I said, to Dr. Eric Boyd, and he is a leader in the fields of marketing, leadership coaching, and leadership development. And he holds a PhD in marketing and has spent over 35 years as a leader and a leadership coach, and also leadership author that we're going to get into here. And he's co-founded FairWays to Leadership, which draws parallels between golf and leadership, offering an innovative and inspiring framework for personal and professional growth. So a lot of the work that he's doing, I love this. It's about how do you introduce people that have never played golf. Maybe they've lapsed. Maybe they have played before when they were younger, always felt intimidated on the outside. So yes, especially with kind of disenfranchised, underrepresented communities. Him and his wife are doing some great work there through Mindfulness Leadership Solutions. And as I mentioned, he is the co-author of FairWays to Leadership, Building Your Business Network One Round at a Time, which uses the principles of golf to teach leadership and networking skills. So I know that's a big mouthful there, but we're going to get into this. So rather than me just tell you about it, I'm going to bring Eric Boyd on.
How you doing, Colin?
Good to see you, Eric. How are you this morning?
Oh, doing great. I've got a chance to spend time with you. I got a chance to talk about golf and leadership, so two of my favorite subjects. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So, hey, well, before we get started here, I'm just going to pull up right between us, right in the middle. There you can still see a little bit of us. Book that you and your wife, Anna, have written here. As I mentioned, FairWays to Leadership, Building Your Business Network One Round at a Time. And you're using this as a curriculum piece for a lot of college and university programs. So we're going to get into this, but as we get started here, doing something a little bit different here today, just to make sure that people can see the questions here. And I've kind of written some out here. Some people have actually provided us, so this is a little bit curated through the community. So we're going to start kind of high level here. Going to bring this one up. Eric, why don't you give us the overview here? Why don't you share a bit about your journey in golf and how it led you to focus on leadership and diversity?
That's a great question. Big opening question. Let's not start small. Let's get big, right?
Yeah.
So how did my journey in golf begin? It really goes back to when I was a youth. I would say maybe I was 10 to 12. Grew up single mother. On the weekend, when she had to go to work, she was wondering where's a safe place for my son to go. So in the small town we lived in, there was a little 9-hole course. She could, give me $5. I could go pay for the 9 and go around as many times as I wanted. And, I would I'd play 27, 36 holes, sometimes even 45 if she happened to be working late. But that was sort of the beginning of my journey. And I think that experience of seeing golf as a safe place, a place where I could go and, I could have fun, I could be outside, and it really sort of started me seeing the value of golf for me personally. And then, coming from a family that wasn't, economically as well off, the only way I was able to play on the country club course was because I was able to make the high school golf team. And so, that opened up that door for me. And then it opened up some doors for me once I got into it professionally. And so I just knew from my own experience that golf was a place where things happened. Typically good things happen. And so I was looking, for, as far as the diversity, it really goes back to when we started FairWays to Leadership. Anna Alvarez Boyd, my wife, and I, it was around June 2020, I guess, which was right when COVID was really starting to peak and take hold of everybody. And we also had the murder of George Floyd. And so my wife and I were just sort of saying, what can we do? I happen to be a professor at the, University of Central Florida. I teach graduate students in the DeVos Sport Business Management program there. They were frustrated, socially because of what was going on, and professionally because they weren't getting internships. And so we just invited them out for the day and said, look, we don't know, how this is going to help you, but at some point in your career, somebody's going to ask you if you play golf. And, we just want to give you the opportunity to decide whether you want to, take that opportunity or not. And so we invited some students out. I think I had 20 students in my class. 6 of them showed up. We had a little 2-hour, introduction to the game, and there was a variety of students, males, females, people of color, Caucasians. And so it was a nice little setting. And, my wife and I, after a couple of hours, sort of patted ourselves on the back and thought we had done something good. And they came over and said, when are we going to meet? You want to meet again? And so we've been, and it just grew from that, just sort of taking a step to try to do something, to now, we've got this national nonprofit that's active in, I think, 11 universities. We're approaching 1,000 graduates of the program. So it really was just sort of an unfolding of personal experience into professional experience, into sort of, just wanting to make a positive social impact in some way.
Nice. All right, so it sounds like that was as we talk about in the startup world, that was your minimum viable product, even though you weren't looking for product market fit or customer validation. It just kind of happened because people wanted, it's like, okay, next week again and again. So obviously people were leaning in. Okay, so
Exactly.
I want to ask you this. Let's kind of keep moving forward here and take the next step. So with FairWays, the leadership program, and then obviously with the book, with it all distilled down within the 286 pages there, which I had a chance to read as much as I could over the weekend here. What are some of the key components of the FairWays to Leadership program, and how do they specifically target underrepresented communities?
So the curriculum itself breaks the golf experience into what we call leadership moments, and those include the clubhouse, the practice area, tee box, fairway, green, and 19th hole. And within each of those, we talk about the key leadership traits that the program focuses on, which are mindfulness, integrity, empowerment, strategy, adaptability. And we focus on, okay, at the clubhouse, how can you use these traits to help you be successful, knowing that those traits also can help you be successful off the course. And so each leadership moment is about that. And so, it'll change. For example, adaptability in the fairway is about, okay, where's your shot? How do you sort of adapt to where the ball ended up? Most of the time, it's not where you wanted it to be. So how do you adapt to that? And that's important, but there's a different type of adaptability where, say, you're at the clubhouse opening the round, and your what we call your special playing partner shows up maybe late, or maybe is missing balls or a club or something. So it's just trying to help them see these important leadership traits in different contexts and how they can all sort of help them to be successful. And the idea, again, is to use golf as that learning environment that helps them develop these traits that are going to help them be successful off the course. And then as far as the diversity, we traditionally, golf doesn't necessarily have the best history when it comes to being inclusive. And so we were very purposeful about making sure that the students that we try to reach are students, whether it's for economic reasons, for gender related reasons or racially related reasons, that, those aren't going to be the things that are going to keep you from being able to learn this game that can be so powerful personally as well as professionally. And so, we focus on certain universities like Hispanic serving institutions or HBCUs. We focus on certain student groups within universities like women in STEM, all with the idea of just trying to be as inclusive as we can. And that's where the diversity part comes in.
Got it. Okay, well, let's dig down a little deeper here, because I've actually written them down here, which you mentioned. So the 6 leadership skills learned through golf, and that yourself and Anna have articulated very nicely in the book here. So maybe you just want to dig down one at a time into these, or maybe just kind of choose one or two. I'll leave it to you. So yeah, talk a little more about the 6 leadership skills that are learned through golf that you employ.
Yeah. So, having played, I think, I'm sure you could probably see there are times when, golf, for example, is a game based off of integrity, right? You keep your own score, you call your own penalty shots on yourself. And so we try to, sort of show students that unique aspect of the game, and then help them see how that can transfer over into leadership and, say, business. And the way we do that is we have a 6-week program that runs every semester at the universities where we're active. And during those 6 weeks, students each week are getting a golf lesson at the golf course, and they're getting a choice of leadership lessons online. We have a leadership academy, which is an online learning academy where we actually created podcast series for each of the leadership moments. So if student schedules are really busy, this gives them the flexibility to listen to what fits with them. Each week, we also have a executive forum where we bring in leaders to speak to our students. And so the students will hear, for example, how has integrity played a part in a leader's career and contributed to it, while at the same time they're learning about the importance of integrity on the golf course when it comes to scoring and that type of thing. And so it's trying to sort of marry those two together, those two experiences, in a way that really resonates with our students. And I think one of the reasons it resonates so much is about 90% of our students have never played golf. Right. So, and which means, this is a completely new, they're navigating a new world with its own language, its own customs. And so I think learning these traits helps them to say, okay, how can I navigate this new world, while at the same time developing that muscle that allows them to activate it outside of this environment when it's necessary.
Like this. So there's this old adage in golf saying, and in business, saying that you can learn thin slice a person's character within 9 holes of golf to find out what type of a human they are. Have you seen that reinforced through the work that you've done? And you also see that with people in trying to reach the C-suite, or whether it's advance their career and make more positive connections, that are you seeing that that is actually happening in real life, that getting out on the golf course and spending 4, 5, 6 hours with people, not on the course also, but the 19th hole, as you mentioned, is that other opportunity. So have you seen that in real life, that people, when they get out on the golf course and they learn the etiquette and they learn the basics in golf 101, as you call it in one of your first chapters in the book there, that your students are seeing that in real life, that are getting invited back, or they're getting more opportunities, and that network is opening up because they are able to I guess their personality and their integrity just comes out through the manifestation of playing around a golf with someone that they just met.
Yeah, we regularly do exit interviews of our alumni, and the things that, I think the latest one we did was like 80% of our students said their professional network had grown as a result of going through the program. And that's, they start to see the value of networking. I think we also had about 50% of students who said they had performed better in interviews. And so where you talk about on the golf course, that you get a chance to really see a lot of parts of somebody, because as you know, through 18 holes, there are going to be some shots that go where you want, some shots that don't. So you're going to see people at their highs and people at their lows. So it does happen on the golf course. But what we are also learning is that this is opening up opportunities for our alumni to be able to share things about themselves and also learn about the people who say they're interviewing with. A lot of our students say that this program and seeing it on their resume is sparking conversations and interviews that they wouldn't have had that opportunity to have. And so, yes, it does happen on the course, but we're also seeing it, spill over into other types of contexts like interviews. And one of the things that my wife and I never thought about was, we're also seeing it sort of spill over into the home, into the family. For example, a lot of our young women multiple contexts where this is giving our alumni an opportunity to share things about themselves and to learn things about other people through this sort of crazy thing we call golf, right? It's just amazing to think about how many doors it opens up, how many conversations it initiates just by knowing a little bit about the game. And we know in no way say that we make our students into, the next pros.
Right.
We focus on pace of play and things like that. But just the fact that, you're seen as somebody who knows golf, who appreciates the game, just sort of changes you in the eyes of people and opens up conversations for you that wouldn't have been available otherwise. And that's what the program's really about, is just bringing those opportunities and what we call social mobility to our alumni and allowing them to be able to use that as they see fit for their career.
Nice. So again, of course, those 6 leadership skills that are learned. I wonder if there's 2 more I'm thinking of. I've learned this also through entrepreneurship and golf, and those are patience and resilience. Are you seeing those coming out as leadership skills for running a Fortune 500 or being in a C-suite? Those are character traits that you need to be a good leader. Are you seeing those being manifested also through learning golf?
Yeah, and I think you could talk about them separately, but for me, when you said patience, the first word came to me was adaptability, right?
Right.
So often we want to rush in with the answer, or we want to, to make the move. But sometimes it requires patience on our part, which is more that adapting our own style to what we're actually experiencing. One of the things, my wife has sort of taught me as sort of a leadership coach, because she has several more years of experience doing that, is, help clients see how to not steal the struggle, right? Because we grow through struggle. So letting their team members, letting their staff struggle in a productive way so that they can learn is part of that type of patience. And so that takes adaptability on the leader's part, so that you can allow the people who you're leading to adapt and learn in that process. And I think, when it comes to, resilience, a lot of that is just being, mindful of the situation and what you can contribute to it, and maybe what you need other people to help you contribute to it. So while those are separate, that one of the reasons we chose these 6 is we just think they're very broad and very applicable in a lot of different situations.
Got it. Got it. Well, speaking of mindfulness, I am going to pull up your website here. Here we go. So I can kind of scroll through this as we go. So tell us a little more about the mindfulness leadership solutions. Of course, we talked about the book, and we'll continue to do so for the next few minutes. But yeah, tell our audience here and people that are participating. And by the way, the people that are joining us again, if you have any questions for Dr. Boyd, please put it in the chat there. I will pop it up there, and let's keep that conversation going. And yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you've got going on here with the work that you do with the mindfulness leadership solutions.
So, obviously the fact that mindfulness is one of the 6 leadership traits, that my wife and I sort of built into FairWays to leadership. Mindfulness is something that's important to me, and it's both at a professional as well as a personal level. I mean, I don't think it doesn't take a lot of research to recognize that, mental health is something that's very important. For individuals, it's something that we're regularly being challenged with just as much, as the physical part of our existence. But I think what happens many times is, we can talk about going to the gym to work ourselves out physically, but we're not quite there yet with being open about going and working on our mind so that we can be, strong mentally. And so this program, my approach to leadership coaching is a drought, that sort of that workout for the mind, where we start to sort of develop those mental muscles that help us, for example, slow downs in situations where things are really moving fast or there's a lot of uncertainty, of being able to calm ourselves down mentally so that we can sort of take in the information we need and make the best decision. And so I'm really into just sort of being about what's coming into my mind versus what am I bringing to mind, right? I mean, you think about it, the mind is always working, so it's always going to be putting thoughts into your mind. The question is can you find a balance that works for you between bringing things to mind where you're consciously thinking about your leadership and what you're trying to accomplish versus being more controlled by just the thoughts that are coming to mind. And so my efforts around providing the meditations that are on the YouTube channel and on the website here, as far as resources, and around the medication courses that I'm creating are just around helping people through either sort of focused meditation like breathing meditation, or through guided meditation on specific topics like leading through uncertainty or managing with burnout, just trying to help take a more mental approach to being healthy in how we're approaching leadership and approaching the individuals that we're sponsoring, that we're nurturing as leaders.
Now, thank you for that. That was great. Speaking of mindfulness, reading the chapters of the book that I did with FairWays to Leadership, you do talk about mindfulness on the golf course and about focus, staying in the present, perhaps letting go the quadruple bogey from the last hole or that 3-putt from 10 feet. That as a 16 handicapper, I still do quite a bit, and letting that go and staying in the moment. I even have sometimes when I step over the ball and I hit a bad shot, I even think, was I even looking at the golf ball? I may as well have had a blindfold on. Why could I not focus for 0.23 seconds here to look at the ball while I was hitting it? Because obviously my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't focused on that shot. How do you see that translating into business there, that you teach with that mindfulness on the golf course, is staying present with every single shot? That ties into the strategy piece also, I would believe.
Right. Well, you think about it. I mean, think about it through the course of a day. How many times are you sort of in a virtual reality where you're sort of, okay, here's what could happen, here's what I might do, and what would unfold, or where you're rehearsing something maybe? Or how many times do you find yourself caught up in recapping something that happened in the past rather than focusing on the present? And so what I'm about is, I'm not saying that those don't have a place in leadership, right? I mean, we want to learn from the past. We want to sort of practice for the future through rehearsal. But the idea is, can you be in control? Can you be mindful in that moment when you need to be mindful, rather than, to your point, if I just had that extra 1 or 2 seconds, rather than letting I'll give you a great example when it happens for me, right? So I hit a ball, and I'm notorious, and I know this is an issue for me. I'm notorious for I'll hit a shot and immediately I'll know it's not going where I want. And rather than track it, I'll come back to, why did I hit that shot? What went wrong, right?
Right.
Instead of and so then I'm like, okay, where did the ball go? And then I'm out there floundering around trying to find the ball, when if I had just stayed focused on the ball, knowing where it would land it, then as I'm making my way to the ball, knowing where it is, then I can go back and say, okay, what went wrong? But what I did is I allowed the emotions of that experience, that negative hit, to capture, and then, and sort of have me start to focus on what went wrong, rather than be mindful and say, okay, the first thing is I got to make sure I watch where my ball is so I can locate it, because I want to find it and I want to keep pace of play, and then find the appropriate time as I'm riding to it in the cart or walking to it if I happen to be walking. Then that's a moment for me maybe to say, okay, did I hold on too long? Did I let my wrist flip? What was the situation? Right. And that's what it's about. It's about finding when is being present the most important, and being able to keep yourself in that. And then figuring out when are the times when maybe I need to be rehearsing, or when are the times that I need to be recapping. That to me is mindfulness, because it's saying, I know when I need to be future oriented, I know when I need to be past oriented, and I know when I need to be in the present. And that to me is sort of the goal that we're trying to reach with the work that I'm doing.
Nice. I want to ask you about the students that you've had, some success stories.
My favorite thing to talk about.
Perhaps I'm sure you have dozens, if not hundreds of success stories that put a smile on your face. But why don't you share someone that never even considered playing golf, was intimidated by it, that came through and now cannot get enough, and how not only do they love the game, the social and the network aspect, but how that has helped to turbocharge their career also.
All right. So, Colin, people are going to think that I asked you to ask me this question because I've got such a great answer for it, but it's not true. I'm just going to just say. So the best story, I mean, there are lots of stories of students who, for example, came into the program or had, before they thought about the program, and said, there's no way I would ever work in the golf industry. And now we have, 15 to 20 students who are working in the golf industry who before would have said, you'd never find me there. We've got stories like that. We have stories of our students who come back and say, look, I'm having conversations I wouldn't have had. I'm being involved in things that I wouldn't have had. This has just sort of really opened up doors for me. But I think the story that really stands out for me, that probably brings the biggest smile to my face, is a young man, Dylan Gladney, who was part of that group of 6 that I mentioned to you, who my wife and I made the invite. He came out, had never played the game of golf. Was one of those students, I think it's fair to say, would not have seen himself going into the golf industry. But he, to his credit, he came out to that first session. And if we were, to sort of fast forward, he graduated through the program. He went to work at the PGA of America. And then at the beginning of this year, we hired him as the executive director of FairWays to Leadership. Wow. And so it just sort of, it's that great sort of circular story. And along the way, he was also, just to give you a sense, I think it was maybe the 3rd or 4th lesson that we were having. And he came up to me after and said, Dr. Boyd, what you're doing is great here. He said, but, there are a lot of places that, we can find that can put a club in our hand. What we need to know is how can we use this to help us be successful, right? How can we be confident and competent in this environment that, for many of us has not been a part of our culture? And so that really got my wife and I thinking about the leadership component and this social mobility. But, he said, when I came to the first lesson, and I think this is what a lot of our students experience. He said, I just sat in my car for about 10 minutes thinking to myself, I looked around, I didn't know really where to go. I didn't see anybody. I really felt comfortable going up and asking for help. And I was asking myself, is this a game for me? He said, I'm here, obviously. But he says, that's what if you really want to make this an inclusive sport, if you really want to open up all the opportunities a sport can provide, you have to understand that's the mindset for many of these students who are coming to this program. And so that's been a real driver for us of being inclusive. We're very grassroots oriented. We took what he said, and my wife and I built in the leadership component. We've taken things that other students have told us about what their experience is and how we can make it better. But he's the story I think that stands out of having shown up at that. I call him one of our OGs. For me, that means original golfer. But
Right.
but he's and now he's become the executive director. He's leading us into helping us expand westward and everything. That's just the classic story to me of this. This is a foreign experience to, hey, this is an experience I want to step into, and hey, this is something I really want to start to bring to more people.
Love that. Love that. Thanks for sharing that story. Women make up 51% of the population, but 5% or so are CEOs of any company, not just major corporations, and that's actually trended down over the last couple of years from 6 or 7%. Perhaps your wife Anna should come on and answer this question, but I'll let you speak on her behalf here. What have you seen as far as myself as an entrepreneur and startup person? You always talk about pain points and opportunities and gaps. What are the different pain points or resistance or reluctance or intimidation that you've seen from women that you're onboarding through your program as compared to men?
Well, I'll just share what from my coaching practice, what I've heard. A big one is around family, right? You have a child. The mother has the child, and then she's torn between is she doing a disservice to her child to go back to work? Is she doing a disservice to her career if she just spends her time with the child? So that's a real pain point for a lot of the young female leaders that I do coach with, is how do I create this balance between me, the professional, and me, the parent, that I think for the most part men, maybe more in the past than present, don't struggle with as much. So that's a real pain point. And we think about it, they may be the one experiencing it, but it's a real, it's a national, that's, the family is part of the core of the culture, right? And so how do we support the entire family so that women can be, successful if that's what they want to do, go into the career, if they want to stay home. But that's one of the big pain points that I find with women. Another one is just sort of the assumptions that get made, right? We tell our students, especially our women, we have I'd say about 70% of our students are women in the program.
Okay.
So there's a real demand for it. It's just, making that warm invite so they feel safe and secure to come out. But we tell our students, look, especially our women, put something in your office that says you play golf, a putter in the corner, a picture on their desk, something on the wall, because people aren't going to assume that you play the game. And so those invites and those opportunities that come with golf, you're going to have to put yourself out there as someone who does play. So, it's the big challenges like family, but it's also the small challenges of dealing with the assumptions that people are going to make with respect to this game and whether or not you're someone they're going to approach with the opportunities that it can bring.
Nice. It's the work that I've done with the ModGolf podcast for the last 8 years, and a lot of the amazing women that I've met as golf entrepreneurs. Last week on the show, I had Azucena Maldonado, who leads up Latina Golfers Association out of Greater Los Angeles, and the work that she does to use golf as a business and networking tool, and all over the country, different women's groups, and they're amazing at doing that. And one thing that's kind of recurring theme that seems to always pop up is the power of invitation, and especially for women wanting to not feeling welcome, first of all, whether it's intimidation or my friends don't do it. Like my wife's a perfect example. Like she's very athletic, loves sports, but no one she knows, none of them play golf. So she doesn't play golf either. So have you found that not only with your students needing the invite, but also do you help to encourage to pay that forward, that they start to invite people, so you actually have that feedback loop and you kind of grow through what you've learned and you've needed to feel comfortable that you're now implying? So have you noticed that also, that power of invitation as being a kind of a driver to help fuel growth?
Well, I think it goes back. I've yet to meet anyone Nobody just wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to go play golf. I'm going to go learn golf, right? Somebody invites you. We all have that story of a family member or friend or somebody who invited you, right? So it is a game, as you point out. It's a game of invitation. And so what we try to do in the program is make sure that we make a warm, inviting, secure invitation to our students. Because as I mentioned, 70% of our students are women, 70% are students of color. These are students who the invitations have not been flowing in their communities, right? And so, and it goes back to, I always I say, whenever I go and I do it less now because we have Dylan as the executive director, but whenever I would recruit and I would go into a room and I would describe the program, it was the easiest sell. It's like the students knew something was going on over there. They had just never been invited to participate in it. Right. And so, it's about making that invite. And to your point about how and let me just say, the way we do it is we bring in groups of students. So you feel that you're going in with your peers. You feel that also because 90% of our students have never played, the person to your right is likely to hit a bad or a good shot as you are. So you're among your peers. There's not very high or not great levels of differences in skill level. Everybody's pretty much a beginner. So, we can laugh at each other. We can have a good time as we go through because we know we're all just trying to get better at it. Yeah. And so that's part of how we make that invite through your peers, through your existing student groups who you can come with, taking 2 or 3 people, bringing them with you. And then as far as you're extending it forward, we do that formally. We have an ambassador program at each of our universities where one of our alumni, we hire them on as an intern. They're our ambassador. They're sort of our person on the ground there, our general manager. So they go out, they do recruiting for us. And we also we challenge our graduates and said, okay, we made the invitation to you. Now it's your turn to make the invitation to somebody else. So that, the opportunities that are informal, but so powerful that this game provides can be available to more people.
Love this. Okay, last question to finish up here. People that are watching both live here, we still have a few people on here. Once again, last chance to get your questions in here. Don't be shy. And of course, everybody that watches, and we've had the good fortune now as we grow with the ModGolf YouTube channel. And as you can see scrolling on the bottom there, hey, if you like the content that we're creating here, you love the conversations like I'm having with Dr. Eric Boyd and everybody else, so I can make more of these, hey, show us a little love here. Why don't you just subscribe to the channel here so that we can grow and I can continue to keep bringing these amazing people in life and in golf to tell the stories and to help us out here to grow. So people that are watching, they're not golfers. So give us the compelling story of why they should purchase FairWays to Leadership, why they should read your book so that they may then say, hey, you know what, maybe this golf thing is for me. So yeah. Everybody that's out there, that's the non-golfers here, why don't you speak to them of why they should read your book?
So, Anna and I wrote the book as a way to sort of, put that curriculum that we provide in the program into a format that people who may not be at a university where we're active at, or maybe are young professionals, because we focus on college students, can have access to it. And the important thing is that it goes back to something that you brought up, CEOs, right? I mean, there's a reason, that 95% of Fortune 500 CEOs play golf. There's a reason that 80% of executives, male and female, say that golf has played a role in their advancement in their careers. It's because it's this sort of this social lubricant that, in business where, for example, if I said, Colin, let's have a 4-hour meeting, versus if I said, Colin, let's go play a round of golf, I'm asking you for the same time commitment, right? Yes. But it's just very different. And so it's giving students this tool that they can have in their toolkit that they can pull out when they want to use it. I think the thing that we want to make sure is that our students we don't want them to have to say, no, I don't play golf, or I don't want to take this opportunity. And I think that, if you are not a golfer and you're in business, you're probably missing out. And I'll just give you one example, Colin, of how this can show up. I was talking to a young lady who was in a summer internship. It was her, two male students who were also interns, and then their manager. And when it came time to the end of the summer evaluations, the two male interns, both of them got theirs on the golf course with the manager.
Okay.
She got a 30-minute interview or review in a closed office setting. And there's no way. Now, was it legally? There's nothing you could point to say that was illegal. But is it fair? There's no way you could tell me that her 30 minutes in an office was equivalent to the engagement that those two male interns got over 4.5 hours, and then whatever the 19th hole brought, right? So if you don't play golf, you're just missing out on those subtle opportunities, subtle but powerful opportunities that knowing this game, knowing the language, just being able to converse in it can open up for you in your careers.
Love this. Love this. So to finish up also, as far as that kind of the gateway, that first experience, because you and I play the game, and we know that stepping up to the first tee for the first time, when perhaps it could be a sunny day with a patio with everybody having lunch there, next couple of groups waiting, it is incredibly intimidating. For years I've used the analogy or the comparison of skiing, myself snowboarding and skiing. Rather than, okay, it's your first time, Eric, you've never been on skis before or a snowboard. We're going up. I live in Vancouver, so we're going 90 minutes up to Whistler, Blackcomb International Resort, and we get you fitted up, strap you into some skis, and get you on a chairlift, which was hard enough to begin with. And then you're looking down, it's like, what's that little starter run there? Are we going there? No, Eric, we're not doing that. Then you see the green runs and the groomed ones. No. Then a blue run. No. We're going off the backside of the bowl on a double black diamond, and it's windy, and going to push you off, and here we go. So I've always talked about being on the first tee for the first time is like a double black diamond experience. That's your first golf experience. That's more double black diamond to damage your mind and your enthusiasm and your ego more than, let's say, your body, but it is there. So what are you seeing? What do you encourage people, or how do you move them through actionably to have that first experience, that it's more like the bunny hill or a green run in golf there to get them going and build some confidence?
Well, you must be a really good golfer, Colin, because I feel that every time, not just the first time I get on tee. So anyway, what do we say? So you're right. When a lot of things that we hear oftentimes. So at the end of the 6-week program, we play a little 4-hole graduation round, and it's the first time our students step on that first tee, right? And they go, "Oh my God, this is a lot more nerve-wracking. I thought it's just 3 or 4 of us standing around." But what we tell our students is, look, like, don't pose like you're, if you're not a good golfer, don't try to be a poser, right? Just tell the people that you're playing with, hey, I'm new to golf. When I get to 5 strokes or 6 strokes, I'm going to pick up and just walk the rest of the way or ride the rest of the way. That it's more that in the end, nobody is going to remember how well or bad you played. What they're going to remember is, did you keep pace of play? So if you focus on pace of play, you'll have as many playing partners as you want. And just, play the game that is comfortable for you. And if that means picking up, then pick up. Nobody in your group will say a single word. In fact, they may even thank you at some point. So don't worry about it, right? It's all about being out there, enjoying the conversations and the camaraderie that golf offers, and just, staying with the group, right? That's what it's all about. So that's what we tell them. Don't worry. Don't worry about how well or bad you play. Just focus on pace of play.
I think that's great advice. And I found myself playing golf all my life, not very well. I'm playing better now because I'm working at it. But I was never a member of a club, played maybe half a dozen rounds a year and never broke 90. And I needed to find some new golf friends. And my golf friends were kind of lame. And I was doing all the organizing. So I managed in Vancouver. My wife doesn't play, so we're not going to join a private club. But here at the University Golf Club in Vancouver, great course. If you come, we'll definitely go and play there. That I found this weekend men's group that I managed to get on the wait list just before COVID hit, and managed to get in right away and played about 80 rounds that year. And I was very intimidated because they have all kinds of tournaments and match plays and championships and all this. It's like, I've never played in a competitive golf before. And I realized very early on, to your point, Eric, is that if I'm fun to be around, I understand the etiquette. My pace of play is good. They don't care if I shoot 72 or 112. It doesn't matter. But I was intimidated very much when I'd see these guys and know, oh, you're a 3 handicap and a 4 handicap, you're a scratch golfer. I was really intimidated. But then within a couple of rounds, I realized it just does not matter. The fact that people wanted to play with me because, you know, I keep pace, and so I've been told I'm okay to be around. I'm
That's
almost
right.
done, so it all works out very, very well. Okay, hey, we can keep going on forever here, but I want to respect your time here. So hey, to finish up here, as I mentioned earlier, in the comments and notes below, I will put a link to not only Dr. Eric Boyd's website, but also to the book on Amazon. If you want to purchase that, you can have a look there. So great conversation, and yeah, I cannot thank you enough for sharing all the great things that you and your wife Anna are doing for the non-golfers out there to help grow the game at that grassroots level and empower them to make it an effective networking and business tool, and also that health piece too that we didn't even talk about. You're getting in, even if you're in a cart, you're getting anywhere between 5,000 to 15,000 steps every time you're out there playing around a golf. So it's got a sneaky health benefits too.
And
right?
Can we throw one more thing in there into the
Absolutely.
links? Just put a link in there if you could to the nonprofit FairWays to Leadership. If there are any students who want to, consider bringing us to their university, just reach out, and we're happy to follow up with that.
100% will do that. All right. Well, hey, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today on ModGolf Live. If you're watching this afterwards, hey, yeah, still leave some comments. Let us know. Hey, if you want to suggest someone to be our weekly guest on here, that's what we're doing. We're live and interactive here, and more than happy to have that conversation. So again, thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great week. Eric, thanks so much. This has been great. You take care.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye now.